Good morning. When did we have that storm? Was that a Sunday night last week or early or Monday night? When was that? Monday morning, real early. Y'all remember that? You don't remember that? All the thunder and lightning, you don't remember that?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning early. Okay, that was really bad storm. And you'll have no screens, and we think that might be one reason. So we're going to do something different this morning. Reach in front of you and get a songbook. Get a songbook. Some of you may not know how to do this now, so get the songbook and open it up and try to find number 202. If you'll find 200, it's right after that. And let's stand up and let's sing number 202. We're going to sing the first, the second, and the last verse. Everybody sing with a book in hand. All hail the power of Jesus' name, let angels rush. Hold it like this, remember, we hold it like this so we can all hear you sing, all right? Second verse, here we go. Ye chosen seed of Israel's race, he ransomed from the I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be His than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or land. I'd rather be led than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sacred sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords. To His holy name, than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. Now 329, the first and the last verse.
By faith, he still speaks. Y'all, that's legacy, is it not? That's what that is. And my prayer is that all of us can live an amazing spiritual legacy for Jesus Christ. That because we lived for him, it's made a difference in other people's lives to inspire them to live their lives for Jesus. Y'all kind of see how this works a little bit? And so for us to do that, we may want that. But the thing is, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. So what must happen in our lives for us to live that kind of legacy? It's what we do in the moment. It's what we do right here, right now. It's how we live our lives in obedience to Jesus Christ. It's how we take time and be intentional to pour into those that God has put in our lives of our spouses, our children, our grandchildren, our church family, and other people that the Lord may put within us. Because, I was thinking about this, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the little story, Footprints in the Sand. I remember hearing that as a kid, and it always stuck with me. If you don't know what that is, it's some imagery of someone dies and they are in the presence of God, and then it's kind of like their life is shown before them, and it's in the imagery of God and them walking on the beach together. And in the good times of life, there's two sets of footprints, but whenever there's difficult times in this individual's life, there's only one set. And so this person turns to God and said, God, why in the difficult times of my life, why did you leave me all alone? Why is it only my footprints there? And God says, child, you don't understand. In those difficult times of your life, those aren't your footprints, but those are my footprints, because in those tough times, I'm carrying you. And so I guess even from an early age, that's kind of how I kind of view life a little bit. It's always stuck with me. It's kind of how, as I'm walking with the Lord, it's kind of like if I'm walking on a beach, y'all, every step I take, what is it doing? It's leaving an impression within the sand. Well, this hit me. Do y'all realize in life, everybody that we come in contact with, we are leaving impressions behind? We are. Let's think about this. What kind of impression are you leaving behind? Is it of Jesus? Now, I want to take this a step further. That it was a long time ago. I was attending it was basically like a college conference, and one of the speakers at the end of her talk shared this. She said, a lot of times I viewed my life as kind of walking with the Lord, walking in the sand, and I'm leaving these footprints behind for him. And then the speaker went on to say, I really changed my view on that. Because when people look at my life, I don't want them to see my footprints in the sand, but what I want them to see is the trail of the cross that I'm carrying. Y'all follow me? Because everywhere we may step, what are we pulling behind us? The cross. And so really, that's the impression that I want all of us to leave behind on everybody's life. Y'all, the impression of Christ, the impression of Jesus, the impression of his love, his grace, his forgiveness. And see, and whenever we think about this, we all have people in our lives that God has put there that he wants us to have an influence on. And you may be sitting here, Brother Rusty, I don't really have an opportunity to influence anybody. Oh, yes, you do. Everybody in this place, God has put somebody in your life that he wants to use you to make an imprint in their life for his honor and his glory. And so I want to kind of lay this foundation now, because that's what we're going to be looking at. That's what we're going to be considering. Because I I want us to leave a mark that's hard to erase. But not just something that we're leaving behind. I want us to leave something of eternal value that's going to outlast us and still speak to the honor and glory of Jesus Christ way after we're gone. And I hope that I can do it and you can do it. And whenever we stand before Jesus, may we be able to hear those awesome and amazing words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." But for us to experience that, y'all realize it matters what we do now. It matters what we do now. So, if you've been away from the Lord, now's the time to come back. If you've never entered into a relationship with Him, let me tell you what, now is the time to do it. Y'all, if there's something that He's been putting on your heart that He wants you to step out in obedience, guess what? Don't put it off. Today is the day. Because it's not the past that determines your future, it's the present. Today truly is the first day of the rest of your life. What we do now, y'all, it matters. Because if we look at life and it's like a window of opportunity, I'm here to tell you that as each second, each minute, each day goes by, guess what that window is doing? It's getting smaller. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are, the window is getting smaller. That's just the reality of the fact. Because the truth is, I'm closer today to being in the presence of Jesus than I was, yesterday. I'm not trying to freak you out, but that's just the truth. This opportunity of life, the window is shrinking. So I say we take full advantage of it. Because, here's the deal. If God's gift to us is potential, what we do with that potential He has given us is our gift back to Him. And so let's live a life that's an amazing gift back to God, saying, "God, this is all for you. I did it for you. I want to honor you. I want my life to constantly be pointing people to you." Now, for us to do that, here in the near future, we're going to look at some actions that we're going to need to take and be faithful with, and hopefully we can move in that direction. So we're going to be looking at that. And then I want to wrap up this series looking at an individual in the book of Acts that can be a model for us who lived and left an amazing legacy behind. But what I want to do today, and if I don't get through all of this, okay, I can pick up next week, but I want us to think about some things that may hinder us from living this kind of life. Because the fact is, if we're going to be taking the actions to do it, we first need to understand that there's some warnings, there's some pitfalls, there's some obstacles that we're going to need to bypass, overcome, and get rid of, okay? Now, with that being said, flip over one chapter to Hebrews chapter 12. There's a section here in this verse that really spoke to me as I was just thinking about this concept of us living a life in such a way that we leave an amazing legacy for Jesus Christ. So in verse 1 it says this: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses," pay attention to this, "let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." So the writer of Hebrews is using the imagery of a race and comparing that to life. That we're in a race of life in essence, and what it is, my race is different from yours, your race is different from mine. God has a course for each of us that He wants us to run with perseverance and finish the race that He has for us. But in doing that, what instructions does the writer give? That we need to do what? Throw off anything that hinders or entangles or the sin that can trip us up. So obviously a lot of times then we think about things that we need to get out of our lives, things that may be obstacles for us from living for Christ. Sin is obviously the big obstacle, and a lot of this other obstacles kind of spring off from that. But also, there's just other things in life that may not either be good or bad, but still, if we're not careful, can hold us back from living the fullness that God wants us to live. Now, does anybody in here want to run your race when you're carrying around baggage of stuff that you don't even need to be carrying around? Because as we look at this, he tells us that let us throw off everything that hinders. And so we're going to address some things that you can look at as either obstacles or hurdles that are in this race, or it could be baggage or other things that we just need to cast or throw off. However you want to look at it, there's some things that we do not need to let have influence over our lives. And so, like I said, I want to touch on some of these. Now, this is not any huge list, and if I sat down, I could probably come up with a whole lot more than what I'm just going to address briefly here. But I want to share about 8 things with you. And like I said, if I think about it this next week, I probably can come back with 8 more next week. But just let me kind of share some things and see if these may be some issues for you that you have found that have been stumbling blocks, obstacles, or hindrances in your life from living what God wants you to live. See, the first 2 that came to my mind was this: the obstacle of fear